Welcome back. In a world where words are thrown carelessly and attention is handed out like loose change, you've chosen something different. You're here to master depth. You're not here to impress. You're here to understand. And that already makes you rare. Today's journey isn't about pickup lines or temporary charm. It's about the psychology of subtle emotional power and how just a few words, spoken from a place of calm, masculine certainty, can echo in a woman's heart far longer than beauty or bravado ever will. If you've ever wondered why some men walk into a room and say little but still own it, why certain phrases, when delivered with stillness and timing, can shift the energy between you and her, in seconds this video is for you. Welcome back to the path of the Stoic man. Let's begin. Number 1. Why women are drawn to emotionally detached men. Attraction, at its core, is not a logical transaction. It's a deeply emotional experience. Welcome back to the channel, where we unpack the unspoken rules of Stoicism, psychology, and power in relationships. You've probably heard the phrase, "I can't live without you," in romantic movies or love songs. On the surface, it sounds poetic, raw, passionate, vulnerable. But in real life, phrases like that often signal emotional dependency, not deep love. And paradoxically, they kill the very attraction they're meant to ignite. Because the brutal truth is this: when a man becomes emotionally dependent on a woman, when his mood rises and falls with her responses, when her absence feels like the end of his identity, he doesn't appear more loving, he appears weaker. A woman doesn't want to complete you. She wants to be drawn to your completeness. Stoicism teaches that love must never come at the expense of one's inner stability. When you say, "I can't live without you," you're surrendering your sense of self. And in doing so, you unknowingly place her above your own dignity. She becomes the center of your gravity. And any person who feels that kind of pressure will eventually pull away. Epictetus once said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." And when you judge someone else's attention as necessary for your happiness, you've already lost your grip on your own peace. Now, let's get practical. A man who texts non-stop when she pulls away, who sends long paragraphs asking, "Did I do something wrong?" or "Are you losing interest?" is not showing emotional depth. He's showing emotional imbalance. He's broadcasting that his internal state is dictated by her actions. And this is the fastest way to drain the mystery and masculine tension from the connection. A woman may feel flattered at first, but over time she senses the pressure. The relationship stops being a dance and starts to feel like a leash. What's the alternative? Emotional independence. It starts with recognizing what you can and cannot control. You cannot control how often she texts, what she posts on social media, or if she suddenly pulls back. But you can control your response. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like continuing your routine, your workouts, your reading, your purpose, even if she hasn't replied in hours. It looks like taking a pause before reacting, choosing silence over neediness. It looks like answering, "I don't need you, but I want you," with calm, grounded energy when she asks if you're serious about her. Because that phrase, that's not just clever, it's powerful. It embodies Stoic detachment. It tells her, "You're not here to complete me. You're here because I choose you, freely." And women feel that. Not just hear it, it hits different. When a man stands rooted in his own world, when his happiness is built on purpose, not persuasion, he becomes irresistibly attractive. Why? Because he is not reacting to her emotional weather. He is the mountain she must climb, not the valley that follows her footsteps. If she's distant, he doesn't panic. If she pulls away, he doesn't chase. He observes. He filters her behavior not through fear of loss, but through clarity of values. And if her energy is inconsistent, manipulative, or drama-filled, he quietly steps back, not as punishment, but as preservation. He doesn't fight for a seat at a chaotic table. He builds his own. This is what emotional independence looks like. And it's not cold, it's powerful. It tells the world, and her, I am whole, with or without you. So if you've ever caught yourself falling into emotional dependence, waiting on her validation, checking your phone every minute, losing yourself in her silence, it's time to reclaim your center. Spend the next week doing this. Stop trying to be heard and start listening to yourself. Don't chase approval, pursue purpose. And don't define your worth by someone else's attention. Define it by how true you stay to your own values. You'll be shocked at how women respond, not because you played a game, but because you stopped playing theirs. Number 2, the power of I don't need you, but I want you, the most irresistible mindset shift. This phrase, simple, unassuming, yet devastatingly powerful, says more about your inner strength than any compliment, gift, or romantic gesture ever could. I don't need you, but I want you. Say it slowly. Let it sink in. This isn't a pickup line. It's a declaration of internal freedom. It says you've built a world so rich, so complete, that no woman holds the keys to your emotional survival. And yet, in that independence, you still choose her, not out of desperation, but desire. This is where Stoicism meets modern attraction. Let's break down why this phrase works not just on a surface level, but deep in the subconscious of any woman who hears it delivered with grounded confidence. Attraction thrives in mystery, in contrast, and in perceived value. When you say, I don't need you, you're removing the emotional burden. You're not coming to her as a beggar looking for shelter. You're arriving as a builder of his own temple, already complete. She is not the architect of your happiness, she's a guest. But when you follow it up with, but I want you, something powerful happens. You reintroduce intimacy but without attachment, emotion but without addiction. This balance is rare. It tells her, I've evaluated you. I've seen your energy, your flaws, your light. And out of all my options, I still desire you. This flips the power dynamic. Most men try to earn a woman's approval through praise, gifts, and persistent attention. But when you lead with detachment and then choose her consciously, she doesn't feel pursued. She feels seen. And that is what every woman craves. Not to be needed out of loneliness, but to be wanted out of clarity. This is the law of scarcity at work. Humans value what's rare, and nothing is rarer in dating than a man who is calm, self-contained, and yet emotionally open on his terms. Now, here's the Stoic twist. Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you say, I don't need you, you're exercising freedom. You are emotionally self-governing. But when you follow it with I want you, you're making a conscious choice within that freedom. You're not surrendering your autonomy, you're expanding it to include her presence. So how do you say it? Not as a threat, not with a smirk or arrogance, but with calm certainty. Let's set the scene. She's testing you. Maybe she playfully asks, do you like me? Or why are you even talking to me? Most men would scramble, reassure, beg, but you don't. You look her in the eye, steady and grounded, and say, I don't need you, but I want you. Then say nothing else. Let the silence do its work, because that's when the real psychological trigger happens. She'll start to wonder, why doesn't he need me? What kind of man is this? And just like that, she's drawn in. Not because you chased her, but because you showed restraint. That restraint is the source of masculine magnetism. It creates contrast. In a world full of men addicted to validation, you're the one who doesn't flinch in silence. You don't chase, you choose. And here's the kicker. The more emotionally grounded you are, the more weight your words carry. If your life is full, if your goals are in motion, If your self-worth doesn't rise and fall with her replies, then this phrase becomes a mirror. She sees her reflection in your stability, and suddenly she wants to be wanted by someone who doesn't need her. There's no manipulation in this, no game. This is a Stoic love, a love born of wholeness, not of holes needing to be filled. So next time you feel the pull to say too much, to prove your interest, to win her over, pause, breathe, and remember, your value was never in how much you could please her. It's in how deeply you remain yourself in her presence. Say less, mean more. I don't need you, but I want you. Number 3, the psychology behind emotional detachment. Why women chase what they can't control. The moment you detach emotionally, not as a tactic but as a truth, you become dangerous in the most attractive way. Most men fear losing a woman's interest, so they over-invest, over-text, over-explain, and in doing so, they surrender the very thing that creates lasting attraction, emotional sovereignty. Now, let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean pretending not to care. It means caring without collapsing, wanting without needing, being open without being owned. When you say, I don't need you, but I want you, and you mean it, you activate a primal contrast in her psyche. She senses that you're fully alive with her, but you're not empty without her. That's power, that's mystery, and that's rare. Let's go deeper into the psychology. Every woman is biologically wired to test a man's strength, not just physical, but emotional. She wants to know, can he stay centered when I pull away? Will he lose himself if I stop giving attention? Is he a man or a boy seeking approval? Emotional dependence, pleading for her validation, fearing her silence is the mark of a man not yet rooted in himself. And when you're not rooted, you sway with every breeze of her mood. That's not attractive. That's exhausting. Here's what Stoicism teaches us. Epictetus wrote, "You become what you give your attention to." If you yourself don't choose what thoughts and images you expose yourself to, someone else will. In other words, if you constantly direct your emotional state toward a woman's approval, then your identity becomes dependent on her reactions. You're no longer leading your life, you're orbiting hers. But when you're detached genuinely, it tells her this: I lead my own life. You're welcome to join me, but I won't reroute my purpose to keep you from leaving. Now this might sound harsh, but in truth, it's healing for both of you. Because when a woman senses that you're emotionally complete, she relaxes. She doesn't feel the pressure of having to complete you. She can choose to be with you rather than feel like she's being chased by a man who's drowning. Psychologically, this taps into what's called the pursuer-distancer dynamic. The more you pursue with emotional need, the more she distances to maintain balance. But when you ground yourself, when you become still, calm, unbothered, she feels the pull to close the gap. Why? Because your silence becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, she doesn't see a man pleading to be loved. She sees a man who is already enough. Women fall hardest for men they can't fully figure out. Men who remain composed, who don't overreact, who speak with intention, not insecurity. Detachment isn't about being aloof. It's about being centered in something deeper than her attention. It's about having a mission. A man who is emotionally detached is usually one who's deeply attached to his purpose. When you're busy building something bigger than a text thread, when your energy is directed towards something meaningful, you naturally become less reactive. Your life doesn't stop when she delays a reply. Your heart doesn't shatter when she pulls back. You have ground beneath your feet, a life outside of her, and that terrifies and attracts her all at once. It triggers the scarcity principle again. If she senses that she's not the center of your emotional world, she starts wondering why. What does he have that makes him so self-contained? What kind of man doesn't need me, but still chooses to show up? And then desire is born not out of manipulation, but magnetism. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. This is Stoic attraction. It's not about being emotionally void. It's about being emotionally anchored. You're not detached because you don't feel. You're detached because your feelings don't run wild without your permission. So next time you feel the urge to prove your worth, pause. Look inward. Ask, am I reacting or am I choosing? Because the man who reacts loses his frame. The man who chooses keeps the throne. Number 4, timing is everything. When to use. I don't need you, but I want you for maximum impact. In the dance of emotional dynamics, timing isn't everything, it's the only thing. You could have the most powerful words in the world, but say them at the wrong moment and they fall flat, missed, forgotten. But say them just right when her curiosity is piqued, her guard is lowered, or her emotions are stirred, and those same words become unforgettable. That's the art of masculine timing. And nowhere is this more potent than with the phrase, I don't need you, but I want you. Let's talk about when to say it. This phrase carries weight. It's not a compliment. It's not a tactic. It's a declaration of emotional independence that subtly turns the tables, and for it to land, the moment must be emotionally charged, ripe with unspoken tension. The best timing? When she tests your investment. She might playfully ask, do you like me? Or, why are you even talking to me? Most men panic. They stammer. They overvalidate. They try to impress. But the high-value man leans back and says, with calm certainty, I don't need you, but I want you. The message lands like thunder. She hears your voice but feels your self-respect. And suddenly, the test becomes attraction. When she pulls away slightly, if you sense a shift, her messages are slower, she's less responsive, don't chase. Don't ask, is everything okay? Wait. Then when you reconnect, drop the phrase with nonchalance. You know I don't need you, but I want you here. It reminds her. You didn't suffer in her absence. You lived. And yet you still welcome her back, not from desperation, but from choice. After a moment of intimacy, not sex, but connection. Maybe you just shared a deep conversation, or she opened up about something personal. Look her in the eye. Let silence sit, then say it. I don't need you, but I want you. No performance, just presence. And she will feel it, not just hear it. Because her guard is down, her heart is open, and your words echo deeper. Now, let's talk about how to say it. Tone matters. This phrase is lethal when spoken with calm confidence, not ego. You're not boasting, you're not threatening, you're simply stating a truth with warmth, stillness, presence. Keep your voice low, slow, grounded. Maintain eye contact, not to dominate, but to show you're anchored in your reality. Let there be a pause after the phrase. Don't fill the silence. Let it breathe. Let her process it. You're giving her space to feel the weight of your clarity. But here's the key. Your life must reflect what you say. You can't be texting her obsessively, rearranging your schedule to see her, or basing your mood on her attention and then expect her to believe that you don't need her. That's emotional contradiction, and women feel that. Your words are only as powerful as your actions. So what does the Stoic teach us here? Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't say you're independent. Be independent. Don't say you can walk away. No, you can. And then when you say, I don't need you, but I want you, she believes it because it feels like truth. And truth is irresistible. Remember, this phrase is not about creating distance. It's about establishing value. It says, I am whole. I am enough. I am not with you to fill a void. I'm with you because I see you as someone worthy of being in my already full life. That's where masculine power lives. Not in control, not in bravado, but in quiet, calm sovereignty. And when you time this phrase correctly, you become unforgettable, not because you begged for attention, but because you reminded her. You're rare. Number 5. The second phrase that shifts everything, I bet. Most guys don't make you feel like this. There's a kind of silence that only happens when a woman's emotions are activated. Not a silence of boredom or distance, but of realization, of connection, of presence. And there's a phrase, a simple string of words that triggers that silence, that makes her pause, reflect, wonder. I bet most guys don't make you feel like this. It's not a compliment. It's not a pickup line. It's a psychological invitation delivered with confidence and stillness that makes her look inward, not at you, but at how she feels around you. And in the world of attraction, that's where your true power lives. Let's break down why this phrase is so potent. First, it taps into a cognitive bias known as the contrast effect. Here's how it works. When someone experiences a heightened emotional state, their brain starts to compare. Have I felt this way before? What makes this moment different? Why do I feel this now? When you say, I bet most guys don't make you feel like this, you aren't just flattering her. You're subtly encouraging her to compare you to every other man in her past. And that comparison, when timed well, almost always favors you. Because here's the reality. Most men try too hard to impress, validate, or convince. But you, if you've followed the path of the Stoic, don't seek approval. You don't rush to please. You don't need to fill the silence with praise. Instead, you create a feeling, not through perfection, but through presence. And this phrase, I bet most guys don't make you feel like this, magnifies that presence. It tells her in a roundabout way, you feel something different with me, don't you? Let's look at the emotional setup. You're in a moment of closeness. Maybe it's after a meaningful conversation. Maybe she's laughing freely. Maybe her eyes linger on you a little longer than usual. You pause. Look at her not intensely, but softly, calmly, and you say it. I bet most guys don't make you feel like this. You're not seeking a response. You're planting a seed, one that makes her think, and more importantly, feel. Why is this powerful? Because attraction isn't about what you do for her. It's about how she feels in your presence. And most men never trigger that depth. They chase, they entertain, they talk too much. But you guide her back into herself. And once she feels something with you that she hasn't felt elsewhere, her mind starts to connect you with that emotion. It's called emotional anchoring, and it's one of the most powerful psychological forces in relationships. Now, here's a crucial insight from Stoicism. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you speak this phrase, you're not craving validation. You're not trying to be the best man she's ever met. You're simply noticing and calmly pointing out the emotional uniqueness of your presence. It's an act of abundance, not desperation, of high value, not neediness. But here's the key. The phrase only works if you've already made her feel something different. That means your energy, your attention, your groundedness must precede your words. You don't fake emotional connection, you create it. And then you highlight it, quietly, smoothly, almost like a whisper of realization. It doesn't need to be dramatic. In fact, it's better when it's casual, like something you're simply observing out loud, not trying to prove. And when said right, it causes a pause. She might look at you a little longer. She might smile, curious. She might even deny it, but deep down, she knows you're right. Because you didn't tell her how to feel. You led her to discover it on her own. And in that discovery, you become unforgettable. Number 6, the psychology behind I bet. Most guys don't make you feel like this. It's one thing to say a phrase. It's another thing to embody it. And if you want this line, I bet most guys don't make you feel like this, to linger in her soul, not just her ears, you need to understand the emotional architecture behind it. Because the power of the phrase doesn't lie in the words themselves. It lies in when you say it, how you say it, and what she's already feeling in that moment. Let's begin with the why. This phrase works because it subtly invites her to contrast, to compare, to remember. Psychologically, humans rarely value things in isolation. We value through comparison, through what came before. If a man has made her laugh before, but you make her laugh and feel safe and understood, the contrast becomes undeniable. You then are not just another experience. You are the exception. And once a woman begins to experience you as the exception, she invests emotionally, not because you demanded it, but because her own nervous system is drawn back to you. This is where emotional anchoring comes in. If she feels warmth, excitement, intimacy, or even curiosity when she's around you and you drop the phrase at the right moment, her brain associates you with those feelings. She doesn't replay your compliments. She replays the emotional atmosphere you created. Think of it like music. You don't remember every lyric of a love song. You remember how it made you feel. So how do you make her feel? You stay calm. You stay present. You listen not just to her words, but to her rhythm. When she laughs more than usual, when her eyes soften, when her voice slows down, and the space between your sentences widens, that's your cue. That's when you anchor. Now, a critical Stoic principle comes into play here. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. Before you use a line like this, ask yourself, am I someone who truly creates this kind of feeling? Am I grounded, magnetic, composed? Or am I performing confidence without embodying it? Because if your energy is scattered, if you're needy for her reaction, if you're waiting for approval, she'll feel it. But if your internal state is whole, if you are present with no agenda, if you know the moment is already special, then the phrase becomes a mirror. You're not giving her something. You're showing her what already exists, and that's powerful. Let's talk timing. This phrase hits hardest during a moment of shared laughter or intimacy, a slow, quiet gaze when the energy between you feels different, after she opens up about something personal, or even right before you part ways, to leave a lingering echo. Use it like a final brushstroke on an emotional painting. Don't over-explain it. Don't stare for her reaction. Just say it with a slow, relaxed voice, like you're casually noticing something beautiful in passing. I bet most guys don't make you feel like this. Then pause. Let the silence do the rest. Now here's where the Stoic mindset becomes your anchor. You don't say it to get something. You say it to reveal something. Because a high-value man doesn't chase emotions, he channels them. He becomes the kind of man who makes women feel safe, intrigued, and alive. And then, with clarity and calm, he puts that feeling into words. And that's when you become unforgettable. Not because you tried to be, but because you were. So here you are, now armed with something far more powerful than clever lines. You carry understanding, you carry awareness, and most importantly, you carry choice. Because a man who learns to speak with emotional precision, a man who waits for the right moment, who values silence as much as speech, he no longer begs for connection. He creates it. Let your words be like arrows, rare, quiet, and impossible to ignore when they land. Let your presence do the chasing. Let your calm be the magnet. And as Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So let your thoughts be sovereign. Let your words be deliberate, and let your value be unshakable. If this message resonates with you, if you believe attraction is a reflection of self-mastery, not manipulation, then you're exactly where you need to be. This is Stoic Love. Subscribe, stay grounded, and keep walking the quiet path few men dare to follow. We'll see you in the